Welcome to News with a View, hosted by me, John A. Costa. Today is January 15th, 2026. This is episode 8. And we're starting off the new year with new episodes. For you joining us today, this is a live broadcast going out not only to YouTube but also to Facebook. Little unhappy on the stream, how the stream is operating in the live mode, but we'll work on that. Today, more. Well, let me get back. If you're just joining, this is a conservative podcast. I am a Republican. I'm not MAGA. I'm a constitutionalist. I'm a federalist. Democrats can be federalists too. The news story today, of course, all hinges around ICE and illegal immigration, the effects, and then some. I'll go into a little bit on Schumer's prediction that he made, and it's wild. I'm also going to speak on early this morning. President Trump had said that he would use sedition laws against Tim Walz, and I think he should. And would President Trump President Trump acted earlier on that? I don't think the woman Good would have been put into the position of using herself as a weapon, and she'd be alive today. But that's just me. And I could see some problems going on with my live feed. I might have to turn off my Facebook. That was a bad hit. I got that back, and yet it's still going and still giving a problem. So stand by. Give me a second here, and I'm going to Duke. All right, stream 1 is good. Stream 2. Is now off. It's amazing what I have to do there. So we'll be getting back to the program in just a second. I just want to see my YouTube stabilize here. There's not enough video to maintain. So I think we're good. I'm getting good signals here, but I am seeing my video go around. All right. Well, we're just going to leave it. Stream setting. All right. I think we are good now on the stream. I think that it's happy with it now. My error has gone away. All right. We'll have to figure out what's going on with the Facebook stream. That seems to be degrading everything. And we'll kind of figure it out. But again, today is going to be speaking about ICE and the what's going on. And again, like I said, I'm a conservative constitutionalist. I will take the conservative side if it's correct. If I feel that the president is off base or not doing something I think he should be doing or acting, I will point that out too. I try to be fair. And of course, everyone knows that fair is just another four-letter F word. Just saying that, putting that out there. All right. ICE officer shoots man in leg in North Minneapolis after shovel attack and mob attack. Now, if you go on the CBS Minnesota and read the story, it leaves out so many details of what took place yesterday. ICE had stopped in a traffic stop, a Venezuelan illegal alien using fake documents, and this individual had been already tossed out of the country and he came back in under Biden. He then fled in his vehicle, smashed into a parked car, got out of the vehicle, and then ran towards an apartment complex. When the ICE officer caught up with him, a scuffle took place, and then apparently his friends that were in the apartment complex came out and started beating the ICE agent with shovels and broomsticks, the handles of a broomstick. The ICE agent shot one of these people in the leg, and the others barricaded themselves in the house and, of course, were subsequently arrested. And Tim Walz is outraged by this. Outraged. But CBS Minnesota left out 80% of what transpired up until that point. You read it for yourself. Go to CBS Minnesota. You'll find that on MSN.com. And read the story and then realize that they left out 80% of what transpired. And why ICE was going after this criminal. All right? And this is what goes on. This is how the left media operates. And CBS wants to know why their viewership is down so much for their news. Gee, I don't know. How about telling the truth? Maybe we could start there. What a decline over the last 30 years for CBS News. And I mean, we always called it CBS Snooze, but it was basically 30 years ago, a fairly decent newscast. And then it went downhill and downhill as they got more liberal and liberal and liberal and liberal, till it wasn't the news anymore, it was propaganda. All right. Now, you remember the outrage that Mayor Zoran Mamdani had when um, Department of Homeland Security under ICE detained uh, Rafael Andres Rubio Bohurquez, and turns out that this guy's a criminal illegal alien from Venezuela too. They said despite Rubio being employed by the City Council of America's largest city, he had no work authorization to be here and was illegally employed. Furthermore, Rubio has a criminal history, including an arrest for assault in New York. How nice. Rubio had entered the United States on a B-2 tourist visa in 2017, which required him to depart the same year. Guess he didn't. And good old Kami Badami put him in charge of things. And I will say that if the mayor knowingly knew that this man was an illegal, had a criminal past, and yet put him on the city council and promotes this guy, and then he should be removed. And if he does not, Mamdani should be charged. To an accessory of aiding and abetting a criminal. I'm telling everyone that America is getting tired of the nonsense of the left. We don't act violently. We'll use the law. We'll use our rights. And we will now not look the other way and go, listen, this guy, no more excuses. No more excuses. The fact of the matter is, and I said this on previous podcasts, is that the Democrats had made it impossible for the federal government to try to find out who's here legally and who's here illegally. They have made it impossible by tossing the Fourth Amendment around and saying, oh, you have to have probable cause, and you can't use race as a probable cause, or language as a probable cause, or religion as a probable cause. Well, then, what do you do? How do you find out these people? Well, the answer is you have to stop people. And now ICE is set up at the Minnesota International Airport, checking everyone coming and going. Which they're allowed to do. The Fourth Amendment is a right guaranteed every person in the United States, citizen or non-citizen. documented or not. But there are limits inside the Fourth Amendment for those people being illegal. And yesterday I went over what they were, and you can look it up. Just Google Fourth Amendment rights for undocumented illegal aliens in the United States, and you'll come up with a pretty good synopsis of what they're allowed to do. And of course, when you use Google, then they give, well, this is very discouraging for, and they throw their slant on it. They just don't give you the information. You want the real information, you go to Grok AI. That's going to give you the best. But again, all these search engines, all these AI, they are geared, someone puts the conscience in it. And that's why I said there's no clear AI. They're just a huge search engine with parameters that are built into it. It does not, for the most part, become intuitive. If it sees a lot of action on one topic, it might say, oh, let me now, at 333 questions, I now can go deeper and look deeper. If not, I'm not going to waste my time. So it's intuitive up to a point where if it got one piece and read it and go, hold it, there's a piece in there that doesn't match the other pieces. Let me go down that road. It doesn't do that. So when people throw, well, AI told me, well, okay, let's look at everything that AI used to get to that conclusion. That's all. So you have a situation where the police or ICE agents, federal agents, are really stuck. They have to put up checkpoints, and they have to do really, where are your papers? And I think it's part of the equation is that the driver's license should have to say citizen or non-citizen. Now, if you're a green card holder, you could have citizen green card. And thank you. Have a great day. Bye. But if you are a non-citizen driver, you might have to explain and show, hey, I'm in the system. I'm going through doing this. They'll detain you. They'll look at it and they go, yep, that's who it is. Have a good day. Just like when you get pulled over on the side of the road and the police, for an infraction, and asks for your driver's license. Can I see your driver's license? Some states you can just show it to them. In other states, you must hand it to them with whatever other documents are required in that state to present. And then he goes, I'll be right back. Now you are being detained. They got to do a reasonable amount of it, meaning the detainment can't be 45 minutes. That bounces into the next thing. You could go and, excuse me, officer, am I free to go? And if he says no, then you can ask, am I being arrested? And if he says no, and you go, why are you holding me here so long? And depending on what his answer is, then becomes very, very important to you as a citizen. And I believe that. I think that's a good thing. Your Fourth, Fifth, Sixth Amendment rights are very, very important and should never be overlooked. And because you want to exercise your rights, that's not an admission of guilt or anything. You're just exercising your right. And you could ask, on what grounds are you detaining me? And if they say, we're not detaining you, and they go, oh, great, can I have my license back and my paperwork, and you know, I can continue on. And if they say no, we think that this, and they go, that's your probable cause. That opens up a whole bunch of other things. That's why when the police officer says, hey, can I look in your car? Just, tell them no. No, you can't. Now, if he walks around the car and they look in the side window and they look around, and if they see old garbage and stuff in your car and the back seat, they might go, I see something over there. Can you step out of the car, please? And then they can go and look in your car if he feels that there's something in there or you're hiding something. Even to the point of saying you were acting a little, and they'll go, hey, is everything all right? Because, you're acting a little hinky here. You seem very nervous, and they can do that. And you go, well, I'm being, well, okay, so you admit to being nervous, and well, why? And that gives them probable cause then to go further. And that's why you always tell them, even if they order you out of the car, which you must obey that order. You must obey that order. You tell the officer, I'm exercising my Fourth Amendment. I don't give you consent to search the car. I do not give you consent to search me. And they go, well, we're going to search you. And you just say, I do not give consent. And then when they, want to pat you down, all right, they're going to pat you down because they have to. At that point, they have to. But then what happens is if they don't find anything, if they look in the car, and they might have violated your civil rights. And I'm all pro law enforcement if it's done correctly. I'm also for consequences. If that officer violated your civil rights, you can then move forward on a case against that officer and that police department. I don't have a problem with that. But when you fail to listen to the police officer, and you go, I'm not getting out of my car. You lost your constitutional rights at that point. Because now the police officer goes, now I have to force you out of the car, and there's got to be a reason why you didn't want me in the car. And now you're acting all crazy, and now you're resisting, and now it makes your case very, very hard. And if you go, well, then I'll agree to the search. Don't do that either. Just say, no, you're not allowed. And if the officer goes, well, I'll get a warrant. Yeah, go ahead. You must present that warrant to me. They just can't go, well, I got a warrant on the phone. No, I have a right to see the warrant. I will not stop you, but I have a right to see the warrant. And what's the scope of the search? And when they bring a police dog around your car, they never go in your car. They go around it. And if the dog gives a signal, then they can go in. And then they'll tear your car apart. If the dog gets a positive gives a positive response to its handler. But like I said, in that ICE shooting in that occurred with Good, yeah, she didn't obey the officer, and she wasn't shot because she just didn't get out of her car. She used her car as a weapon. She might not have thought she was using her car as a weapon, but when the officer or agent is struck by that car, and then it backs up and starts to do another running leap at you, you got a pretty good bet that, uh, that person was not going to stop if you went underneath the wheels. So, and again, that was the Tim Walsh and his crew egging that person, low mental IQ person, and they put her into that situation. They made that happen. And they were thrilled. It could not have worked out better for them. They didn't care about her life. They didn't care. They got the attention they wanted. And what happens because of these protesters who then not believe in peaceful protesting, but engaging protesting, which is they run in front of the cars and they block you, or they, step in front of your way. Laws are being now made to say that you must keep a distance if you're not directly involved with an incident going on, 25 feet away. Failure to do so, you could be arrested as interfering in the lawful duties of a peace officer. And people go, they're taking our rights. No. You have no right to put your hands on a policeman. You have no right to interfere with the legal actions of the local police or the federal police. You have no right to interfere with that. You have a right to protest on the sidewalk, shout, yell. That's fine. I always like when I hear the cursing and the screaming and, using the F word and stuff. And it's like, yeah, low IQ. Can't think of any other words to go. Low IQ. But what I really want to see police go after is when they dox these people and, we're going to follow you, your kids, your family. And this started, what, 10 years ago when they started doing that? And you had Pelosi saying, chase them into a store, chase them into a restaurant, Waters. Get in their faces. Make them feel uncomfortable. Right? And instead of people getting up and just punching them in the face, or luring them into another mob that would punch them in their faces for doing that, get in my space, You violate my space, I'm going after you. That would have stopped. These stupid women would have had their teeth knocked out, their bones broken. And some of these guys, they would have been the first one to leave the girl there, jumping over her to run out the door. Cowards. Cowards, all of them. There's nothing special about them. Trump threatens insurrection action in Minnesota. I said this when Tim Walz announced that he was going to use the National Guard against federal agents. That's was the stupidest thing. I mean, this guy is not a bright guy. Not a bright guy. I'd like to know how they vetted this guy. And again, I said on the other shows, this was done so that he would be vice president. This would come out. And he'd have to resign. And then the DNC could put whoever they wanted in the VP spot. And they couldn't have been happier. You know, they just had Harris, and no one of consequence was going to run with her. And so they took that moron. Whereas he was stupid enough to go, yeah, I'll do it. And knowing that his state is under investigation, and, you know, unless this was planned, unless he knew and it comes out that he said, oh, I know I would have to resign. And, but they would put someone else in there that was, you know, that might have not been electable. Maybe AOC. This was orchestrated. And I'm going to tell you, in 2026 now, this is all going to come out. And they're going to be in big trouble. The Democrats are in huge trouble. They think that they can continue the lie, and they're not going to be called out. They think that they could have free advertising on Kimmel, free advertising with Colbert. That they could have used them as a platform. Look, you know, and it'd be in the papers every day. Colbert says this, you know, boom, boom. And I always love when I see the term eviscerate. Colbert eviscerates Trump. Kimmel eviscerates, you know, dog whistles to the left. Well, Kimmel's gone. And Colbert is gone. And I still think that Colbert will not make May. Kimmel will have another extended leave because he'll have some type of mental breakdown from all this. But where Jimmy Kimmel needs to really be careful about is when they bring up his past in New York City and his barroom shenanigans. They're out there, folks. Kimmel was a young man in a big city. there's a lot of dirt on this guy who says that he's, such a righteous person. And, go back to his days on the Man Show and see how he treated women and what he thought about them. The lies of the left. The lies of the left. But in using the Insurrection Act against some of these people that refuse to stop their threats against the government can be used. And, Tim Walz is going to be indicted anyway. That's just a matter of time. And Trump wrote on his social justice or Truth Social post, I will institute the Insurrection Act. And I think he has a very good shot of saying, using it, and, of course they'll run to, we'll stop him. Well, Supreme Court, they won't stop him. Because he's allowed, you stupid morons. Supreme Court is not going to take away the power that he already has, you morons. And all that does is whip up your uneducated progressives that don't understand the Constitution. Or think that only this part of the Constitution applies. And you ask them, well, okay, you think this, so you're okay with the Second Amendment? No. But I think the insurrection, but what about the Second Amendment? No. Because people kill people with guns. Okay? If Good would have ran over the agent, do you think there would have been a good chance that he would have been killed? Or hurt? So we must outlaw automobiles. Or maybe, if you're a protester, you can't drive a car. And you hear this lunacy. And you take a look at their eyes, and you see them spinning around and go, holy mackerel, this person's out of their mind. Look at how they're dressed. Look at how they're presenting themselves. I realize don't judge a book by its cover. And I'm okay with that. But then after I open the first page and I start reading it, yeah, I could judge that. I could start judging that book. And when these people start yakking, yeah, I could judge that. Yep. The cover sucked, and so did the first couple of pages. And the same goes with people. So, more about fraud. Gubernatorial and control candidates request federal investigation into California's widespread fraud, waste, and mismanagement. Steve Hilton and Herb Morgan requested the Department of Justice deploy FBI, public corruption, and complex fraud units for what they're claiming to be $250 billion in fraud. California gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton, candidate for California State Controller Herb Morgan, just sent a letter to United States Attorney General Pam Bondi, Inspector General, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Thomas March Bell, and Acting Inspector General, Department of Agriculture Janet Sorensen, to formally request an immediate and comprehensive federal investigation into the widespread fraud, waste, and systematic mismanagement of taxpayer funds within the state of California. Candidate Steve Hilton stated, Democrats have failed us. Here we are about to talk about the $250 billion they have wasted, and we see a syringe floating in the street. And he says, no more. California fraud is more like $250 billion, according to Hilton and Morgan. And just because they request an investigation, I mean, there has to be proof, or at least some type of reliable questioning. So, but every journey starts with first step. Is there fraud in California? Yep. Is there fraud in South Carolina? Yep. Is there fraud in New York? Yep. Is there fraud in Texas? Yep. But it's to what the extent is and how much of the government I'll look the other way. And when I say government, the state government. And if the money's going into things that, let's say I'm sitting there going, well, I'm perfectly fine with it going over there and no one's saying anything about it. Basically, I don't care. Because I'm getting me some. All right? That's where it starts to get interesting. And so it starts off at $250 billion. And it might only be, no. We only had instances of, $300 million that we're looking into. All right. Would they have not made these charges? Would the $300 million have been found on its own, the fraud? Or would it have just continued? Who knew? And then the other question, when they go, who knew? Okay, who should have known? Whose job? Because I'm going to say that it escalates all the way up to where you go, the buck stops here. And, good old Tim Walz had come out and said, the buck stops here. He goes, I take responsibility for what has happened. And that was a big thing for him to say. Because his only defense, and he will be charged, he will be indicted. I'm going into that now. Walz and Minnesota AG, Keith Ellison, not out of the woods yet. As a matter of fact, they're just approaching the woods. The situation surrounding Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is complicated and serious, with allegations of fraud and potential criminal charges. Federal prosecutors have charged dozens of individuals in fraud probes tied to state programs, but no criminal charges have been filed against Walz himself as of December 2025. However, there is a significant likelihood of indictments. And what could you indict him on? and it would be failure to fulfill his duties as governor. His only legal defense is incompetence. I was incompetent. I trusted people I should not have trusted. All right. All right. So, you're using the dummy excuse. That's won't get you out of it, but you're going down that road because that's the only road he can go on after he took, he took ownership of it. Now the question comes in for Ellison. Did you ever have any talks about the fraud? When? Who'd you talk to? Did you ever talk to any of the individuals that were involved in that fraud? When? And in what official capacity was that talk? Was it part of an investigation? Or, hey, I need to talk to you about this? Probably Ellison will resign and step down. Because he's into it up to his neck. The House Oversight Committee has launched an investigation and political pressures mounted with some lawmakers suggesting that Walz could face arrest. The scandal has prompted Walz to drop out of his bid for a third term, and he faced criticism for failing to take full responsibility for the alleged fraud after being informed of it years ago. So, he says it happened on my watch. The buck stops here. Well, then you're incompetent. And you could be charged with that. Failure to fulfill your duties. And knowingly then taking your pay for not doing your duty. Your pension goes away, just so you know. Yeah, there's a lot of explaining to do, Lucy. All right. Good old Senate Minority Leader Schumer said Democrats expecting Trump to interfere with midterms. Schumer says. And he went on further to say, but because of the issues that I have talked about in regard to Trump interfering, the House and Senate have largely been in sync on those issues, and it's reasoning resonating with the American people how we are on their side. Really, Chuck? Were you on our side when you allowed 30 million people to cross our border unchecked? Were you really on our side when you diverted money from Social Security and FEMA to house illegal aliens? Were you on our side when you gave Visa debit cards, $1,000 per week, to illegals? You think you were on our side, Chuck? You can't see how that's possible. Can't see how that is possible. I think the difference between the likelihood of winning the House and the likelihood of winning the Senate has greatly decreased. And he's saying that's for the Republicans. You got to love their math. They are going to lose Senate seats, and they're going to lose more House of Representative seats. I said this, and I argued with family members. This was in November, and I said the Senate and the House of Representatives are going to turn red, as well as the White House. And they go, well, maybe the Senate, but not the, boom, boom. And I said, nope. Look at all these fake, they don't add up. They can't, the numbers don't add up. When they start throwing stuff around and boom, 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 and you're looking at these polls and you're looking at other polls, and you go, they don't add up. And it was very easy to see the lies. Harris taking Texas. Harris winning Iowa. Harris taking all the swing states. How? The numbers aren't there. You're saying that no one is going to vote for Trump in these counties, which are red? How do you get to that determination? Cheating. We plan on cheating. Big win about ballots. Counting ballots. Look it up. Supreme Court. 72. Saying that a win for a particular individual who was denied the right to sue the election commissioner on counting votes after mail-in ballots after the election that come in after the election. And the county clerk, well, the county commissioner had stated, you can't, if it's postmarked before the election, it can be opened. Or if it was just received and not opened. And the argument was, no, well, what's the drop-off date on that? Is it the next day? Is it 2 days later? Is it 3 days later? But it was postmarked. Well, they told this individual that since you won your election, you're not hurt by that anyway, so you can't sue. And he goes, well, no, I don't have to be hurt by it to not be able to sue. And the state Supreme Court said, no, you can't sue. And it went up the chain. And guess what the Supreme Court said? Yeah, you could sue them. You can sue them. Which now if you look what the United States Postal Service has done, is that the postmark date won't be the date you drop the ballot or you drop your mail in the slot and it goes to your local post office. Now it has to go to a regional branch and then it will be postmarked. Now that's interesting. And like for myself, I said, well, I used to always drop my taxes on the 14th. I never pushed it to the 15th because I was always afraid it wouldn't get postmarked. Though I would bring it there and I'd have it metered, and it was metered and postmarked, and even if I think I did it on the 15th one time, and I had to wait online with a billion other jerks to get it. I said, this doesn't weigh, X amount, and it's, going to cost $2.35 instead of 62 cents. And they press out the little thing, and it has a meter mark on it. That's when they got it. U.S. Post Office and government used to say that we consider it delivered when we put it in the mail. That's not the case now. So people who are going to try to stuff the ballots on the last day, on the day of an election, they might get postmarked the next day. And sorry, no good, no bueno. So there's a lot of talk of that, and that's what Schumer's saying. They're going to use tricks, and no, they're going to use the law. You moron. They're going to use the law. And Schumer, who thinks that the American public are going to forget about the lies over the last 5 years of the Democrats. Their slanted ideology on letting boys go into girls' rooms or play girls' sports. The ideology of not being able to define the sexes. Ask some of these people that scream, "You're science, man, you gotta follow the science." All the ice cubes are melting. And you ask them, can a man be pregnant? And they turn around and they go, well, that is if you gender a person. If a woman is pregnant and she wants to consider herself a man, then yes, a man can be pregnant. No, I'm asking you, using science, can a male, right here, I consider myself a man. I have all the working parts. I'm a man. Can I become pregnant? And they refuse. They just won't answer it. And they keep reverting. Well, no, we have to consider your gender identification. No, that's crazy talk. That's crazy talk. And that's what you're getting out of these, out of a Schumer, out of an AOC, out of a Pelosi. This is what you get. You got that right out of the President of the United States, Joe Biden. And Harris. And now let's talk about the fraud. And all of a sudden, Epstein doesn't matter anymore, right? That kind of went away because most Americans are not affected by Epstein. 99.99999% of America were never affected by what happened on his island, in his apartment, or with the women who had agreed to work for him repeatedly. And now, they're going to try throwing that up again. And we're going, no, let's get back to the fraud because that cost me money. And we'll be very willing to talk about Epstein again. He's dead. He's not going anywhere. Maxwell's in jail. Not going anywhere. Where'd our money go? And how was it started? How was Minnesota, how were they built? And in California, how were they built? And in Illinois, how were they built? Again, who did it? And who should have caught it? And when? Oh, this is going to be great. This will be great. It's going to be a great 2026 political television ad campaign. So, wait. And for people that have not joined my channel yet, please join. Even if you join just to take a negative look at things, to argue with me. This way, oh, my encoder dropped out again. This way, you can have notice on when I'm going to do a show. I don't normally do it, but you'll know when I have gone live. All right, everyone. A lot of problems with the encoder today. Please give to a charity if you can. Make sure that charity is a charity of your choice. You go to the charity. Don't have them come to you. Do not become a victim helping a victim. If you're uncomfortable with that, please give to a food bank. They could use food, of course. They could also use monetary funds so they can direct it as needed immediately. Say a prayer. A prayer works regardless what a Democrat might tell you. Prayer works. And with that, I'm going to say, see you later. Try to get this show out by 2 o'clock today. It's going live right now, but it's 12 o'clock now. I got to do a little editing. I'm not going to do much editing on this show because it's all, again, me ranting about ICE and the Democrats and Schumer and in Minnesota. Can't wait to go after Newsom. Can't wait. He's a big fish. All right. Again, everyone Be safe. Peace. Hug the people around you. And with that, I'm going to fade to black. Other than saying, Rowan, do your study. Chris, I miss you. Well, I miss you too, Rowan. Sammy and Joey, of course. The great grandkids. Cute little rugrats running around. Bob in New York, I miss you, of course. Even though I have tried so hard to educate you. I guess you have to have some failures in your life to know your successes. All right. With that, I'm going to fade to black now.